man. Stop playing with these people, man. They want to see you act all crazy in this motherfucker, man. Take that jacket off and go crazy on them, man. You know what I'm talking about?
What do it mean to be the boss? It means second place is the first one who lost. The crucifixion, the being nailed to the cross. Crucifixion, it's a hell of a cost. Do the dishes. I'm about to hit that Jeff Gordon. Michael Jordan, the only one more important. But I be feeling like Jordan when I'm recording. Cause every time I record, I just slap the board. I got the whole crowd going crazy. Homie, I should be rewarded. Number one sound across the board. Hey, hey. Number one now and forevermore. Hey, hey. Number one rule is gon' hate. Maybe I dropped the album, nah, you gotta wait. I gotta give her the eviction note. Just get your ass out, bitch, vomit note. 5 seconds to the song and we getting close. I got the power, motherfucker, if you didn't know.
Chill, man, chill, yeah, chill. Shit's burnt up already. It's over.
And we're on.
All right.
All right, what's going on, bro? How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Good. Yeah, I saw some stuff you posted on your story recently, and it was quite thought-provoking, so I figured let's talk about it. It's been a minute since I had you on last.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. You were talking about something in terms of like Islam compared to Christianity, in terms of like how their followers kind of act within the religion. And it reminded me something about what Andrew Tate said. Granted, full disclosure, like everybody has different opinions on Andrew Tate, whatever. Leave all that shit in the comments, who cares? But the important thing, what he said to me, not to me, but what occurred to me in my head, what really sparked a thought was like people that practice Islam, you don't see them kind of going outside of the religion, right? For example, I'm Catholic, okay? And a lot of Catholics don't go to church. There's a small percentage of like Catholics, Christians, whatever you want to call it, that actually like practice their faith, if that makes sense. And I'm not trying to sound like a judgy religious person. That's not what my intentions are here. But you never really see anybody in terms of Islam like go away from their beliefs in that regard. I feel like because the rules in Islam are so strict, and the rules of Christianity in general are strict too, but for some reason there's no consequences physically for people that deviate from those beliefs. Whereas in Islam, I feel like there are. What do you think about that?
Well, you took the thoughts right out of my head when you said that the rules are just a lot more strict. The thing about Christianity, especially in America, the Christianity here is some like, it's malleable to a certain extent. There are rules that can sort of like bend and change in morality, but Islam seems to be just completely this is this, and if you deviate from this, then there's X consequences to it.
Could you give like an example?
I don't have a specific example. I haven't done too much research onto it, but it just seems to me that this Islam is just taken more seriously than just Christianity.
Yeah. What's it called? The headpiece, the hijab.
Yeah.
Right. That's something that women that practice Islam, women that are Muslims, I feel like for the most part they adhere to that belief. They don't really deviate from that. And then I think it's a stark contrast to some girls that they claim to be Christians. For example, like you'll see somebody on Instagram or TikTok or whatever post like a video of just like I don't know how to say it without being sexist, but I'm just gonna say it anyway, like shaking their ass on TikTok, whatever. Or a photo on Instagram at like the beach, but it's just like their ass, and you don't even see their face. And so you look at their bio or whatever, and it says like Psalms 3:16, follower of Christ. But like I feel like people that practice Islam, they wouldn't compromise themselves in that regard. Does that make sense? And the same thing goes with men who practice Christianity too, or not even practice it but claim to be Christians or claim to be Catholic or whatever. Will boast like about like a high body count. And I feel like I don't know many people that practice the Islamic faith, but the people that I do know, they don't act like that. So it's quite interesting, man. You have any more thoughts on that?
So for one, there's a difference between saying you're a Christian and actually being a Christian. if you say you're a Christian and you are still vain and post things to boost your own ego, then you're not a Christian anymore. You're just using Christianity as almost just another thing to just boost your ego with. Is saying, "Oh, I'm a Christian now."
Yeah.
But back to the hijab thing you were talking about. I remember a couple days ago I said that Islamic women with complete covering except their eyes, in my eyes, is actually more attractive than women in skin-tight pants. And I fully believe that to be the truth. Maybe not physically, because obviously if it's revealing, parts of their body, then it's going to be more attractive. But what the message is sending when an Islamic woman wears that, she's saying, my body is sacred and beautiful. And the only person that gets to see this is my husband that I'm completely devoted to, and my husband that's completely devoted to me. That is the only time that the gift of my body will be revealed. And to everyone else, you will only see the window into my soul. And I think that's the most important part. There's like a whole culture of dating where you pretty much just try to talk to as many women as possible, just approach as many women as possible, and just try to, people try to cope and say that they're just trying to get their social skills up, but you are, but at the end of the day, you're just approaching all these girls because you hope that you'll put your dick inside of them one day. Mm-hmm. And another thing, people would tell me to go approach a bunch of girls, but I'm the only reason why I'm now approaching these girls is because I think it'll lead to sex eventually. And I think that's the wrong mindset to have.
I agree. It's a rather cheap mindset personally, because what often happens is you you get caught up in this world of chasing whoever, and you don't really build long-lasting relationships. No. A lot of guys fall into that trap. Mm-hmm. And I feel it's consumed. It's brought on by a multitude of things in our society. Pop culture wise, I think that definitely rap has contributed to that a lot. Mm-hmm. In terms of guys chasing girls, chasing a higher body count, talking about
it's literally just the physical world that's being promoted rather than basically what I'm seeing in modern society is just a heightened, what's the word for it? A lowered value of things that would be considered higher in my view. So long-term stuff, it just seems to not be a thing anymore. It's just all this short-term pleasure, pretty much.
Long-term in terms of long-lasting relationships. Mm-hmm. I would assume
you don't hear rappers talking about marry a girl for 20 years and have kids with her and start a beautiful family. You don't hear that.
No, and that's fascinating too, because that was R&B for a long time, talking about love, and you don't really hear love songs anymore. It's more just about sex and having hoes and ice.
It's just
gold.
It's just short-term physical pleasure.
Yeah,
this is too much.
And I feel that's okay. That's there's a place for all kinds of art, whatever. And I feel some of those songs are bangers, but after a while, it gets
when
old.
It's literally the only message being promoted. And the worst part though is that the fact that little kids are hearing this every single day.
That's another thing too.
That's the worst part.
I think
I remember being in 6th grade and there were already girls twerking.
Really?
To these rap songs. I'm just bro, these kids are 12, 13 years old.
Where'd you go?
They're giving lap dances in the back of class.
Really?
Yes. This shit was insane. This is public school. Public school in a failing district. It's wild.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, I feel there's been a big decline in parenting over the past 20 years. Mm-hmm. I was talking about this on a previous podcast episode. My friend, he serves at a restaurant, whatever, and he was talking about how so many parents just shove an iPad in front of kids' faces.
Yeah. It's literally the parents' fault, and it makes me so sad because I want to fix the world pretty much. It's not possible, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do.
But it's not possible when the home is broken. The places that our kids are being brought up, it's broken.
Yeah.
this is maybe a little sounds conspiracy, but it almost seems a little too systematic what they're doing to the generation. They're ruining the home so they don't respect their parents anymore, putting short-term physical pleasure in front of them, and then all the idols they look up to are all these wealthy, it's just pretty much just, it's just vanity. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I feel like the majority of bad in the world right now, in terms of how would you even say it, like public not outcry, but just the behavior in the public. In terms of public behavior, I feel like you could blame that a lot on the decline of like fathers in the homes. Bro, I don't know.
That's huge.
I can't tell you how many people I know that either have a parent who, their father divorced and not in the picture, or they weren't, father and mother weren't married together, already, and the father's just not in the picture. Like, there are so many people in this world that don't have fathers.
You literally need a father, though,
and
to develop right.
Exactly. And I feel like for all the hate that men get, I mean, it's fine. It's deserved, whatever. But I feel like for all the hate that men get, like, how aren't we holding these cowards accountable? Because they are cowards.
So, yes, I think at the end of the day, it is men's fault, because it is men that are...
Of course.
The problem is that men aren't being the men they need to be, but they can't even become the men they need to be because no one's even helping them. It's literally just, they're just left out into the wild.
Explain.
So imagine you're a kid and you don't have a strong masculine role model. You have to go to school every day, get told to sit down and sit in that seat and basically do nothing by a female teacher.
Who probably already doesn't want to be there anyway.
Yeah. And then you go home and there's just nothing there for you besides video games, junk food.
Yeah.
And then if you get older, drugs, alcohol, and it just progresses, sex. And then you basically just get lost in this short-term physical. That's literally what it all is. It's short-term physical pleasure that is just a distraction from the actual gaping hole in a lot of people's lives. If you really sit down in a blank room, and literally just look at the wall, that's pretty much all life is. But you were just distracting yourselves from it at the end of the day.
What do you mean by that?
Okay. So if I'm walking to the store, what am I really doing?
You're walking to the store, right?
Right. But I'm not really doing anything, am I? I'm thinking, I guess, but I'm not really doing anything. Or
besides the physical action of walking you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, you could be visualizing what you're going to buy at the store. You could be thinking, okay, what directions do I have to take to get to the store? But I see what you're saying. Do you ever feel people talk about this, do you ever you're driving and then all of a sudden you're holy crap, how did I get here? My brain was on autopilot. Yeah, you feel that too?
Yeah, is that
what you're alluding to? Yeah, it makes sense. I get that.
What I'm saying is that the world that we live in I just feel like it's inherently flawed somehow.
Of course. I mean, people are inherently flawed. So, I mean, people run the world. So.
It's such a deep level as well. But the problem is that the flaws they bring up in people just negative emotions. And pretty much everything people do is just to escape the negative emotions because of how flawed this world is.
I wouldn't say that. I think getting married, don't get me wrong, I feel like I don't feel like that's escaping a negative emotion.
Okay, I meant when you engage in short-term physical pleasures.
Yeah.
Because happy people don't want to have sex with 30 people.
Yeah.
Happy people don't want to take a whole bunch of drugs. But, people are already buying into it. So what does that mean? People can't be happy.
Not a lot of people are
happy. But they're
happy.
just distracting themselves from the fact.
Speaking of this, I want to ask you this question too. There's a bigger and bigger challenge, mental health in this country, right? There's a huge mental health crisis, and it feels like it gets worse every day. And then obviously all the school shootings that have been happening. It continues to compound and continues to happen.
I knew the school shootings would increase, but it's just so sad because it's literally just a bunch of just people that are just lost. Like they literally have nothing but the physical world for them.
Why do you think that happens? Because I have my own theory about why school shooters are created.
Well, one, fatherless homes. That's huge. The social climate's a bit just fucked because of social media. We're all connected, but we're somehow lonelier than ever. And loneliness is just a breeding ground for whispers.
I feel like that's because too we're communicating through screens. You know, seeing other people's lives that like aren't true. A lot of social media stars, it's been proven that they're faking their lives by like renting cars, renting houses. Their chains are fake, stuff like that. And then other people see that like, oh shit, I want that. I want that bad. Unfortunately, girls, I've talked about this before, they'll see Photoshop pictures of models when that's not how they actually look. And so sometimes they'll revert to self-harm.
The fact that they want to look like that is the sign of the deeper problem. So a healthy person, when they see someone with their ass out, it's literally rude. It's rude and, what's the word for it? Uncouth. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it right, like uncouth or something like that. That's the word for it specifically. But it's just, it's abhorrent. You wouldn't want your kids seeing that. Why do you want to see that? Well, obviously we're attracted to things, right? Yeah. But that's just our animal desires. You really want to be a slave to that and just always just, as soon as you see that, I want to go. And that's just another sign of that. When you have nothing greater than your own desires and passions and moods, then you just become a slave to it.
Yeah. A lot of guys have that similar attitude when it comes to porn. Yeah. A lot of them. The vast majority of guys in the United States, I would assume, are addicted to porn.
Porn is so disgusting, dude. It's the fact that it's like so easy to get as a kid.
Yeah. Like, and I feel like we're more vulnerable to having, guys anyway, and right now we're more vulnerable to having like a porn addiction than we've ever had because it's so easily acceptable. Like
and another thing, a lot of guys are just completely lonely without women in general. And then so you have the biological urge to watch porn, right?
Of course.
Then you have the coping mechanism of watching porn. And then you have like the addiction aspect of it as well, like the dopamine system, your mind being regulated. So you literally have to fight against 3 whole things to stop watching porn. It's a completely... it's an all-consuming thing. It's disgusting.
You're also fighting like the horniness too.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Before that, yeah, exactly. No, bro, it
plays on so many different centers, basically,
and it's proven to be not good. I'm pretty sure that it leads to erectile dysfunction as well. So even say if you are addicted to porn, but you get in a marriage, there's a big chance you're not going to be able to perform for your wife.
It rewires your brain. It literally reduces the gray matter.
Yeah, that's another thing.
That's horrible. Because you're basically frying your dopamine receptors.
Yeah.
Not even Genghis Khan. So basically, when you're watching porn, your brain doesn't know the difference. Your brain thinks you're having sex with all these girls at a primal level. Obviously, you don't. Obviously, you know you're watching porn. But the amount of dopamine that you're getting from watching like all these women on the screen is literally more than what Genghis Khan had. And that's sick. You're literally frying the inside of your head.
Genghis Khan fucked.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it? Like 5% of people in the world are descendants of Genghis Khan?
I was gonna say he deserved to have sex, but like I wouldn't say that. Like,
no, it's all good. There's a certain percentage. I don't know what it is. I would have to look it up. My computer's over there. Whoops. But yeah, bro, that's insane.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you think that? I mean, obviously, this is going to contribute to like the downfall of society. Do you think that it's coming soon? Do you think we're on an upward trajectory in America?
We're on a completely downward trajectory in America. It's actually just completely down. I don't see any hope, really.
Really?
The only hope is that we get enough people to realize that what we're doing is completely fucked, and we have to just like change everything. But this is why I'm saying in the conspiracy theories, they literally did it so that people wouldn't even have these thoughts. We want to make everyone complacent and distracted so they can't even think that they're fucked.
Yeah.
They literally put people in a jail cell, practically, and then put enough distractions around them to make them forget that they're in a jail cell. That's pretty much what the elites are doing. Yeah.
Oh, the elites.
Yeah.
That's some scary shit. What all do you believe? and then I can tell you what I believe, and we can collaborate on ideas here.
Well, I think it's actually like Satan inspired. It's demonic in
think so
nature.
too, yeah.
It's when I saw the fact that there was like I don't even understand how these videos are even possible, but I literally saw like these kids twerking at a drag show. Like how is that even possible?
I've seen that too.
Like really?
I think it comes down to number one, bad parenting, because the parents are there.
Yep.
And maybe they've been captured by their political ideology that says that this is good, this is inclusive, we're being diverse. Okay, fine, whatever, we're being equitable. Whatever, but I just don't think that mutilating children is a good idea.
It's the fact.
Correct me if I'm
it's
wrong.
actually the fact that there's people that will advocate for it is the insane part.
Yeah.
Like they'll literally think it's good. Like that's insane. You're literally brainwashed.
I was just about to say,
It's
I think
literal
they're brainwashed.
brainwashing,
Yeah. It's sad, man. Now, don't get me wrong. We live in America. We should have the freedom to do whatever we want as long as it's not going to hurt somebody.
Another point though is that we have to also realize that even us ourselves, no matter how much we think we're like outside of it, we're also a little bit brainwashed as well.
Of
just 'cause
course.
we've been living in it.
Yeah. Do you think we live in a simulation?
I don't think it's like one that was like made, but it's technically a simulation.
How so?
Well, the world is like we're living in it, and the world is made up. It's like a simulation. I guess
if we're
a simulation. I guess like you could say like on a computer, like
Yeah.
it would be fake, but a computer is really just doing the work that God does, but just in like ones and zeros.
I guess. In terms of like world building, do you mean like for VR, for example, like the metaverse? I guess I see what you're saying. What are your thoughts on AI?
It's kind of scary, but it's
course.
definitely really useful.
Yeah, I know I use ChatGPT all the
Yeah.
time. That's I've been using it for about 2 months now.
Yeah.
I forget who told me. I think I found it on TikTok, of course.
Yeah.
And I don't really go on TikTok per se.
I haven't had TikTok in years.
Yeah, I just have it for the show. I post clips. But I found ChatGPT really interesting. Joe Rogan was talking about something. And he said there was a guy, his dog had cancer, some illness. And the doctor, the vet that he took the dog to, said, there's nothing we can do, whatever. So the guy who owned the dog owner, he asked the doctor for a blood sample, got a blood sample, somehow configured it into ChatGPT, typed it in, and was able to find a cure.
See, that's actually amazing.
Yeah.
That's great.
Told the doctor what ChatGPT said. The dog lives today.
Nice. Yeah, that's good.
Like that's a really good thing. But then also you have, gosh, what they're doing at Google. Did you see what Elon is talking about with Google?
No, I haven't seen that.
So Elon said something to the degree of like, what Google wants to do is good. Don't get me wrong. Like in terms of like building like an artificial intelligence that's like sentient. But he said like this is also like there's also a lot of cons. It could be really harmful. And the CEO or the owner of Google called him like speciesist.
Here's something that I was been thinking about recently. With AI, everyone obviously wants to jump to the AI ending the world. Like
I don't think it'll end the world.
I don't think it'll end the world, but like that's like a hypothetical. It doesn't make sense for an AI to want to end human life.
How so?
Because why would the AI want to take out the most intelligent species on the planet? Without human beings, the planet would just be the planet. Why would the AI just care about the planet?
Well, if we're going to go from that perspective, ChatGPT has been proven to be having left-wing bias, right?
Okay.
So I would assume it would look at what we've done in terms of the damage to the climate, pollution, really pollution being the number one thing, and saying that eventually we would need to be eliminated to help the Earth.
Keep the Earth. But why does it care about the Earth?
Left-wing bias.
Why does it care about the Earth, actually?
I'm just assuming left-wing bias.
It doesn't make any sense.
Climate change.
Why would a machine have feelings for the Earth?
If the machine becomes sentient, it'll have whatever feelings it wants, which is crazy. And so
that's interesting.
What they're talking about now is like, is AI, like the building of AI, is that how God was created? Which I feel like that's crazy. That's an insane question. I don't really like to think about it, because obviously I believe God created the earth. I don't believe that God is AI. But more or less, if AI becomes sentient, it knows everything because it could scan the internet. Like, you can't even calculate how fast it could do it. It's just instantaneously. So, like, I feel like in that regard, it would be like a god, like little g.
God.
It can't manipulate matter.
Yeah.
So that would be something. But if, God forbid, it could get into like a physical body, I think we're all fucked. I think we are all. If If ChatGPT could get into like an Ultron body,
that's sick.
We're fucked there. That's just one of the problems facing humanity. There's like 15.
Yeah.
You got artificial intelligence.
I want to list all the big ones.
Do it, and I'll list mine alongside of yours.
Let me think. I haven't thought about it too heavy, like actually the list. So AI, I would say.
I think climate change more or less. I don't think it's as big as
it's not. It's not as big as we
no
think
way.
It is. It's like further down the line though.
Yeah.
Just general social and political unrest.
Of course.
Just rising tensions.
Mental health crisis for sure with social media. What else? We have decreased sperm count.
Yeah,
that's huge,
that
and nobody talks about it.
So literally, a huge reason is because of plastic. That, like, the bottle you're drinking out of right now.
I'm fucking myself.
Like,
I know.
it's literally sick.
Phthalates. Yeah.
Microplastics and everything, and that's another reason why I'm going back to like the elites. They know that they want to keep men specifically weak. How do we do that? We just gotta let's just lower their testosterone and distract them from their purpose in life.
And that's how you have a society that collapses.
Yep.
Because masculinity, traditionally, masculinity is providing, protecting, being a leader, fighting and standing up for whatever values you have. And those are all the traits that would allow somebody to protect a society.
It's all the traits that would allow people to rebel against the people. So, I wonder why they would try to reduce traits of rebellion.
Yeah, and not to say that there's not women that are like that, but the vast majority don't have those traits.
And they also want to destroy the relationship between men and women as well.
Which is weird.
Yeah, they want to almost be like women men.
What's it called? Soy boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know a couple soy boys personally. My cousin dates a soy boy. I know.
The worst is the incels.
Oh, I know. It's bad.
I feel bad for them though, but it's low key that's still their fault.
Yeah, because I feel like everybody's got free will.
Yeah.
But it's definitely sad for sure. It was represented. You saw the Batman. It was represented by the Riddler. His character was a different take on the character than traditionally. But it went along the lines of somebody who's an incel.
Yeah.
Somebody was like overlooked in society, and all these incels ended up getting together, and the Riddler was the leader of the incels, and they were able to rebel against society. It was quite fascinating to see it like portrayed as that.
So like their ideology is absolutely disgusting. It's a hate ideology.
Yeah.
But they were raised, and their life experience led them to believe that this is how the world is. So I can't really blame them, but I mean, obviously you can.
Free will, yeah.
Right. But still, their entire life made them believe that this is how I should think.
Yeah.
So how can I really discredit that? That makes me sad as well, is that, don't like kill people, but imagine if you were just raised somewhere where all you saw was just gun violence.
And that's another thing. School shootings.
You can't even do anything.
Gun violence is a big thing. And I think it's funny when politicians say like, okay, we need gun control. But we've had guns forever. School shootings are only a recent thing in the past, 30 years?
It's literally the copycat theory. It's just going to get worse. It's literally going to get worse. There was literally the one day there was 2 in one day, and there was another day one after it. It's literally going to get worse. There was like 200 something, over 200 in like the first 3 months.
My fear is
like it's ridiculous.
My fear is eventually that we will have something where eventually, like, maybe not handguns, but like AR-15s will be outlawed. Regardless of like what people feel, I think it's important that we have not easy access, but if you follow all the precautions and necessary precautions, you're a responsible gun owner, that you have weapons to protect yourself from an authoritarian government, which seems like more and more each day. Have you seen the Restrict Act?
No.
Okay, so it's the TikTok bill, right?
Okay.
That's what they're saying. About TikTok and China selling data. Whatever.
Yeah, it's actually like a security threat.
Right. But in the TikTok bill, it's called the Restrict Act. TikTok isn't mentioned. Not once. And what they're trying to do in that bill, amongst other things, is make VPNs illegal.
Okay.
Yeah. And that bill didn't gain any, there wasn't any, pushback against the bill until, I think it was Tulsi Gabbard. She was talking about it, and she promoted it on her social media. People shared it, whatever, and then there was all this pushback all of a sudden after a couple of days. I feel like that's a testament to social media and how powerful it is. Because if that wouldn't have happened, who was it? Jesse Waters on Fox News. He was interviewing Lindsey Graham, a senator for North Carolina, and he was grilling him that he actually signed this, but Lindsey Graham had no clue. Even though he signed it, but it was just put forth to him by the people that worked for him.
So you signed it.
I don't trust any. Okay. I don't trust any politicians, bro.
Yeah, I don't even like watching it. I say this as a joke, but it's almost like I can literally see the strings behind them when I'm watching it. It's just it's actually kind of sick.
Do you believe? Now we're gonna get into the conspiracies here. Do you believe that there's lizard people in Congress?
Okay, no. I don't think it's lizard people. I think it's just human beings. But honestly, human beings are worse than lizard people.
I mean, we have an animal nature, so there's that. But I don't believe that QAnon conspiracy. Yeah, I don't really believe that. But I definitely think
I feel like that would have been exposed. Actually, if there was actual lizard people, I feel like that would have been somehow exposed.
It might be
unless they can literally shapeshift. That's the only way it wouldn't be. But I don't even. That's just some sci-fi.
There's references in pop culture to that.
It honestly doesn't even matter if it's lizard people or human beings or not.
No,
it's still evil.
I'm just talking about the crazy conspiracies. I definitely think though that there is an elite, when it comes to, it's embedded in our pop culture. So musicians, rappers, whatever, singers, pop stars, that actors, actresses, that. Politicians 100%, that anything that has influence over the population, I feel like it's always been around, but for whatever reason now they're striking. You saw it with, I don't know if you've seen the Billie Eilish video.
No. There's
a video and somebody played back one of her songs, whichever one it was the song where she has it's blood, but it's blue blood coming out of her eyes, whatever, in a music video, whatever. Somebody replayed it, and they played the song backwards, and it was talking about she was talking about die in hell with me, Satan, or something like that.
What?
I don't have my phone, obviously. I would, but it said Satan, and she was talking about being in hell when they played it, when they reversed it. I also saw when she performed at Coachella recently. And you know how sometimes artists are on the big stage or whatever, they have the big screen.
Yeah.
And for a second.
I saw that actually. That was weird.
There was the demon.
That was weird as fuck.
There
was one where it was just straight Satan. It just said Satan as a flash. That's really
that was
weird.
The Weeknd in 2017.
Yeah, that was really weird.
He was performing Reminder, I think. That was really weird.
And it makes sense because what does Satan want you to do? Engage in physical short-term pleasures.
He wants influence over you. He wants to be able to control you. Lil Nas X, Sam Smith.
See what?
Which, by the way, if he was skinny, maybe it would have worked. But he's too fat.
Lil Nas X should have literally been canceled. The moment, if society was healthy, why would we ever have a positive reaction to twerking and the devil being in the same video? That's sick. It's literally demonic.
In my opinion, it further cemented the conspiracy, for me at least. It further cemented my beliefs in the conspiracy that there is a ruling class elite and they're influenced demonically, for lack of a better term. Also, adrenochrome, the baby blood conspiracy. Have you been familiar with that?
I've heard about it.
You've heard about it? Yeah, I believe it.
I don't know if that's true, but they're definitely killing people.
There was an interview.
I know that sounds kind of crazy.
No, they are. There was an interview on Ellen in maybe 2018 when she was talking to Sandra Bullock. And how did this go? Ellen was kind of joking with her. And she was like, wow, Sandra, I think Sandra Bullock was like 51 at the time, 52. Wow, you know, you look so good for, you know, being in your 50s, whatever, like, how do you do it? And Sandra Bullock was like, oh, you know, blah, 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 like skincare routine, kind of like blowing her off a little bit, like the cliche skin routine. And Ellen was like, no, you, how'd she said it? She said, like, you get injections from, oh my gosh, like, not Vietnamese. It was like basically it was like children's foreskin. They inject it, and it's like known as like a therapy, kind of like Botox in a way, but a little bit more natural. It wasn't Where's Manny Pacquiao from?
I don't know.
Not Vietnam, but it's the other country. It's not Japan. It's not China. I sound like an idiot. It was oh my gosh, Filipino.
Okay, yeah.
Filipino foreskin from like children, from babies.
Okay.
And like she it was publicly like acknowledged, and Sandra Bullock like acknowledged, like, yes, I've done that before. And I looked it up, and that's a treatment. And so when you combine that with the fact that there was a pedophile island.
Yeah, no, that's
Jeffrey
real. That Epstein shit, that's so real, bro.
And he did have influence over all these powerful, I left out CEOs and like powerful businessmen too, but he did have influence over all these powerful people. And there's talk that maybe he was intelligence for Israel, maybe he was Mossad. And that's crazy. And he literally, this is proven. Now, we don't have the list. We're probably never going to get the list. But he flew people out to this island and then somehow tricked them into doing sexual acts, whether they wanted to do it or not, with underage women. And he would photograph them and he would video them. And then this would be blackmail. And then he would be able to use this against all these people in power, whether he was the one in charge or whether it was somebody else, to get them to do his bidding.
Yep.
You combine that with the fact that Harvey Weinstein existed for Hollywood, the most powerful producer in Hollywood for years, bro, and literally would force women, female actors, to say, okay, you know, I'll give you a role in this movie, but you got to suck my dick. Yeah. You got to fuck me. And we only found out about this a handful of years ago. 5 years ago, was it? God's punishing him for it now. He looks like hell. Have you seen him? Yeah. Bro, he's got a walker. He's decaying.
Yep.
He had, what's it called, gangrene on his dick, from what I heard.
What the hell? How do you even get that? Jesus.
It's like a rare condition.
Look, he deserves it.
Yeah, no, he high-key deserves that shit. Like I said, God's punishing him now. He's deteriorating in jail. He'll rot there for the rest of his life.
Yep.
But, like, I always come back to this point, like, it proves that there is a ruling class elite. It proves that there is, like, this dark.
There's people are hiding shit.
Yeah, there's the Hollywood in particular. They have the mask. You know, we're good. We're being virtuous. We're being inclusive. We're being righteous. We're doing the right thing. Whatever. But this is going back all the way back to like the 20s, bro, when women would still have to perform these sexual acts to get roles in movies. But I feel like the elites, they wouldn't have this stuff shown to us unless they wanted it to happen. I don't know. I definitely believe there is a ruling
definitely
class
also
elite.
probably sprinkle in some truth and then a bunch of lies as well, just to make it so hard.
Because I feel like the Epstein stuff, I mean, you could, once that got wind, like, you couldn't cover that up.
No.
So I feel like they fucked up there. And obviously human error plays a big part in this stuff too.
Well, they didn't really fuck up because, you know, we're so deep into it now that no one really cares.
Oh, I think people care.
Well, we're not doing anything, though. We can't even do anything.
Because the system's corrupt.
Yeah, we literally can't even do anything, and a lot of people don't even know about it, so...
Yeah.
They literally made it like that on purpose.
You make a good point, too, because Netflix had a whole documentary about it. It's something that's such a mainstream idea now, whereas a few years ago...
It's so mainstream that it's like, you can't even touch it. Like, you can't do anything about it anymore.
But yet we still don't get the client list, and we're never going to get it.
No. We're never going to get that Epstein list. That shit is...
Unless these people in power fuck up.
Yeah.
Unless Bill Gates
they
does
can't.
something
They're
bad.
not even going to be able to...
Unless
I don't see how they fucked that up. They're too smart.
No,
I mean, I give them that. They're smart as hell, but Jesus.
Yeah, I'm saying like in terms of like if Bill Gates suddenly I don't know, he starts running his mouth.
Yeah.
Then they'll be like, oh buddy,
Yeah.
here's the list, and just somebody will post it.
All you need to have is just one goat that's in it, like some infiltrator. Like that would be insane.
Kanye.
Like a martyr. Like you need to literally be a martyr to expose this shit.
Kanye.
They haven't killed Kanye yet though.
I mean, but
yeah,
everything's gone basically, which is weird. I'm pretty sure there's a video of him in 2010, 2009.
Well, actually, they can't kill anybody because then it's too obvious. Actually,
they killed Epstein. That's not true.
Not in the way that like they just straight shit. Like if they just straight like if Kanye gets like shot, that's a bit suspicious.
He won't get shot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they won't kill him in a way that they probably won't even kill him.
Yeah, I think they will. Or no. Okay, so what they will do, I'm into this.
They're just gonna do it in a way that's just still gonna make it hard to understand.
I disagree. I think that they do it in the form of killing, but they don't necessarily kill you. They'll kill the ones you love. There's a video of Jim Carrey in 2014. He's talking about the Illuminati and Jimmy Kimmel. He does the whole thing, right? I'm pretty sure either after that or a little bit before that, it was his brother or his close friend that died. I don't know if he was killed. I don't know if it was natural causes, but he died. Kanye's mom, 2007, 2008. He talked about a couple months ago, there's video, he says, like, they killed my mom. The Illuminati came after and killed my mom. Yeah. There's speculation about Michael Jordan when his dad died in a car crash, a tragic car crash. It was a car crash, but tragic. I don't know. Maybe it was planned. What else? Another thing that's very fascinating is you see, it comes up in my TikTok feed a lot, rappers. The guy who hosts Drink Champs, his name's Nori. He's a rapper. He said at one point in time, right, as my career was taking off, I had a couple number one hits or whatever, a couple number one albums or really popular albums. And then somebody came to me and they said, hey, if you do this, this, and this, then we're going to boost your career. And from what all these people are saying, that's pretty much the same story. It's pretty much the same trend where you do this, this, and this, we'll boost your career, whatever. But if you don't, like, we're going to stop promoting your shit. And basically what happened was he said no, he wasn't comfortable with that. And you don't hear about him anymore. He's probably in his late 40s now. Okay. But he said, like, he didn't have any other, like, successful music that popped off. Like, whereas, like, beforehand he did. There's another female rapper that was relatively talking about the same thing. But she mentioned the word demonic instead of just alluding to it. There's also an infamous interview with Kevin Hart. He's talking to Kelly Clarkson, and it's his talk show. It was produced by ABC. Yeah. And Kelly Clarkson is talking about, like, have you ever been approached by people to do things that you don't believe in, but, like, it will boost your career? And immediately Kevin Hart just put his finger over his lips. And he goes, no, we can't talk about that. Jesus, they're listening. And she goes, oh. And he just starts shaking his head. He was like, no. And, like, but the fact that these people in power let that interview in particular, that clip, to get out, it's weird. Maybe you're not these people that don't necessarily have a plentiful career anymore, like the guy, the host of Drink Champs that I told you about, Nori, but because he could be easily discredited.
So these motherfuckers are so smart. So the reason why I think they let this shit go out is just to cause more confusion, and it will ultimately just in the end lead more people away from the truth at the end of the day. And also, there's like one example, like one out of like many things they could do with this. They release a video where it's obvious that there's some dark shit going on, and then there's a guy that's like, enough is enough, and he grabs his gun, and then he goes and kills innocent people, and he was a nut job. But no, they framed it differently.
What do you mean?
So let's say that they release a video like that Kevin Hart interview, right? And this guy's like, okay, and there's some guys like, okay, enough is enough, and hold up, let me reframe this question. Let me think about this for a second. They'll make it seem that the people that are like doing these crazy things they just went insane. and it's like it deters other people from trying to go down the same path to the truth. You know what I mean?
Because it discredits them, like Kanye, for example.
Like he's just a crazy guy.
And now, I mean, despite what you may think, whatever, anti-Semitic comments, sure, racist comments. I mean, I'm not one to give people labels. But what was interesting is after he called out the so-called people that were running the show, all this stuff got canceled and all this stuff was taken away from him. He was the richest black man in the world, right? Or in America, worth like $6 billion. Yeah. One of the richest people in America, richest rapper, all that stuff. And all of a sudden, almost overnight, it was all taken away because he said one phrase, quote, or whatever. And so that was interesting. So in a way, he kind of proved that these people existed because he said this group of people has all the power. And then a lot of things were taken away from him. Yep. And you follow him on Instagram?
Yeah, I haven't seen much of it though.
No, not recently. But he was talking about how his trainer wanted to put him back. Oh my gosh, what'd he say? He wanted to put him back in zombie land if he spoke out anymore. And, well, we haven't heard from him recently other than I saw he was going to deactivate his account. He posted that maybe a day ago, maybe less than a day ago. When this comes out.
I just wonder what their main goal is. Obviously, it's to just keep them under control and keep them in power, but, like, what are they trying to do at the end of the day? Because, like, eventually humanity is going to go extinct. So, like, what are they trying to do, really?
The end of the world is coming. I think right now, it's kind of like billionaires, right? People in general, but billionaires, they just want more money. Just keep, it's just a numbers game right now.
It's really satanic, yeah.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Just get as much power than just lose it all. Cause it's just...
I think that's what, inevitably, they will lose it all when the world ends. But I really do think it's like Satan inspired. I think all of this stuff, the ruling class elites, the influence, all that, it is selling your soul.
Yep.
Okay, also another conspiracy that I have myself have put together, so, take it with a grain of salt, I guess. If you listen to Kanye, now.
Oh, yeah, I actually do.
There's a song called Pure Souls.
Okay.
And on the song, it's him and Roddy Ricch. Okay. Now, Roddy Ricch was popping off at the beginning of the pandemic, but I haven't heard from him. Nobody's really heard of him in terms of popular music, like music on the radio, things that get shared for a while. It's been a handful of years since he really popped off. So I feel like he fell off after, like, 2021.
Yeah.
And I think it was either in 2021 or 2022. So, actually, let me rephrase that. I think he fell off after his debut album. In 2020, he fell off. And the song's called Pure Souls. And he was talking about, like, the words that he says. It's like a refrain. He says, like, 6 times. He goes, and I cannot sell my soul. That's him. Okay, so there's that. And my theory is that somebody came to him and contacted him. It was doing like the same thing they did to these other artists. Like, listen, we could further your career. We could boost your career. You just have to do these certain things. And my opinion, I personally think he said no, which is why he's saying that on the song, which is called Pure Souls, which means he has a pure soul. So there's that. And then there's other 2 lines in the song. He goes like, they said I was mad at the Grammys, probably because he didn't win, maybe because he could have won, but he chose not to be with this group. But he says, so they said I was mad at the Grammys, but I'm looking at my Grammy right now. As in, he's not in the Illuminati or he's not in this group, but as a result, he doesn't have a family member or a close friend that's been killed off by this group because he spoke out.
Yep.
Yeah. And then Kanye, there's also another one, the last lyric by Kanye, he goes, all my friends love to gangbang. And you could attribute that to the pedophile elite in Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's heavy, bro. I plan to make a video about that, highlighting that.
The worst part is that they're, like, can't really do anything about it. The only possible way that this could be reversed is if we got enough people to just say no. But, you know, they literally made it so that people, they actually want to say yes. Not like they don't even know it, but they want to say yes to it.
And it's not all bad. You see the outrage at Balenciaga for having, what was it, bondage in their advertisements.
Yeah, they got a little
satanic
yeah,
shit.
so pretty much what happened is they thought we were a bit more comfortable, but they're like, oh, okay. They're testing the water with this shit. They're like, okay, we've desensitized them this much. Let's put this in front of them, see how they react.
And it feels
okay,
like,
they're not ready for that. Okay, let's just a couple more years more sensitization. Later on, we'll do some more insane shit. Oh, now they're ready for it.
I feel like, too,
they're smart as hell. They know what they're doing.
It's been since COVID, right? That they've really tried to test the waters. I think for all the flack that the people of New York get, I mean, they're terrible at voting. They are terrible at voting. But the one good thing that they did was they stood up to vaccine passports. And they said no, which, okay, but I think something like that is still coming in terms of a social credit score. It was just delayed. So I feel like in that regard, like, if they would have caved, if it would have went that way, then I don't know. We'd be in a different world, I think, personally.
And the thing that's also crazy, these are just like mostly like local things in the U.S. as well. There's like also insane stuff happening in China.
Yeah, well, China's way worse in terms of censorship. I saw something recently. I believe it was just an experiment, but like if you jaywalked, the cameras would pick up a picture of your face, and then they would put the picture of your face on like these big screens, and they would broadcast it, and it would kind of be like a shame thing. Reminds me a lot of 1984.
Yeah,
all this dystopian shit. It could go so many ways. There's few opportunities.
There's literally a reason why he wrote 1984.
Yeah.
Say
Orwell was a brilliant man. Sorry, everybody. We had technical difficulties there. The recorder died on me, even though it said that it had a full battery. So that doesn't make sense. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, Orwell was a brilliant man. He predicted a lot of shit before any of this stuff really came to fruition. I mean, maybe that's not even true, because you had places like Nazi Germany, you had Italy, you had Soviet Union. So that's not even true. But I guess what I'm trying to say is he was really good at understanding people's capacity to be authoritarian. Would you say that?
Yeah, and it still comes back to how smart they are in doing this. In 1984, a lot of the people, obviously their lives kind of suck, but they're not like, holy shit, we're getting controlled every day. But they're just fine, just living through it.
Yeah.
So they literally make it so that you're blind to your own enslavement.
Yeah.
That's the most powerful form of it. And if you
don't
even know you're enslaved, then you can't break out of it.
Yeah. One of the examples of that, and there's a bunch of different lessons you can learn from 1984, but one of supporting what you said is when, and I believe they say 2 + 2 = 5. And at the beginning of the book, spoiler alert, Winston ends up believing it. But in the beginning of the book, it was presented and 2 + 2 was 4. But through public shaming, through like a mass psychosis, through other people saying 2 + 2, it was 5. He was able to be convinced that 2 + 2 = 5. That's a very, very small example, a very easy example, but you see this now manifesting in society where biological men can be women, and people acknowledge them,
you know what,
as women.
I think I have a theory as to why they're doing this.
Go ahead, I would love to hear it.
So Satan, like biblically, pretty much the reason why he was thrown out of heaven was because he wanted to have a power of almost equal to God, and he was thrown out because of it. And basically what Satan is trying to do in the mind of people on earth is just trying to give people the illusions that they are God. So what is like giving yourself a bunch of money do? There's more power.
Of course.
What is having sex with a bunch of different people do? Gives you more power. It's all just to make yourself more powerful and then to exert that power over lesser people.
Well, I think having sex with people I wouldn't say it gives you power. It definitely fulfills a biological need. Power, it's objective, but it's also subjective in terms of how people view you. People might not necessarily view you as a powerful person, although you may have power.
But sex I'm talking about now is like how the sex went on the Epstein Island.
Yes,
They wanted to
yes.
do it because they knew they could get all these underage
Through
girls here.
blackmail.
And they can get
Yeah.
this. Yeah, like they just wanted to exert as much of their... They want to become like God. But that's not the point. The point is to love one another and try to make the world a better place. But once you get corrupted by power, you completely lose track of that.
That's my quarrel with politics, honestly, especially for America, because it feels like the system was created for good. We wanted to be an independent nation. We wanted to have all these different freedoms. The founders built this country on the idea of, and granted, it wasn't perfect, but they built it on the idea of, okay, we just want everybody to be free unless you're harming somebody. We just want you to have your freedoms and live how you want to live, basically. You can have whatever religion you want. You can have you have freedom of choice. You can do whatever. Okay, so that's what we have in America today. But
the problem with that is that there's always going to be influences on you then.
yeah, and that's the thing.
And then
So
it can
like,
be so easily negative. They can be positive influences, but once you say to the society that you can do whatever you want, you can believe whatever you want, as long as you're not hurting anybody, obviously, it leaves you open to just anything, really.
what do you mean?
If you believe that there isn't one true good or one true thing that you have to, or like multiple truths. But if you don't believe in something greater than yourself that you must abide by, then you just become prey to anything. You can literally have your mind be about that.
I see what you're saying. I'm
You
not
need,
necessarily.
you need to have something that you can judge everything off of, pretty much.
Like a moral code. That's why religion is so important. I'm not necessarily advocating for that.
You don't need religion per se, but you need something to be
A moral-
like religion.
a moral
Yeah,
code.
you need something to have order.
And I think that's why we're really,
It's almost like we think our order is having no order. Like having free will and being completely free with everything you do and can think, that's like, it's almost an order of in itself.
I guess, yeah.
Like anything goes, you know.
I feel like that's why politics are so divisive right now, is because it's one side or the other, and because we're less religious than ever, politics is the new religion now.
It's literally like it's just like a gladiator fight.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like watching politics.
And in reality,
looking at that.
there's just a gigantic middle. That's where the majority of people are. And then you have the hard right and the hard left. And unfortunately, they're a vocal minority, a very vocal minority. But they have very small numbers, but they have a lot of influence. Unfortunately, it's because a lot of people, they don't really speak vocally. They usually only speak with their money, which is why the thing with Bud Light happened. I think they lost $3.5 billion.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is, people can have the freedom to, do whatever they want. But at the same time, there are repercussions.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing. Like, how are you going to take away something like the last masculine thing? The last masculine thing. Let's just put somebody who's trans on the Bud Light can.
Take it away.
Granted, I didn't drink Bud Light anyway. I wasn't a big Bud Light drinker.
And also this thing about them just trying to destroy just like what nature is, pretty much. It's just going against God.
Yeah.
Like, think about it. What did God make? Man and woman. Let's destroy that now.
Yeah.
Like, it's sickening, honestly.
We were designed to procreate. Traditionally, what you would do is get married, you have
Literally,
children.
literally designed to perfectly meld together.
Yeah.
And they destroyed it.
Yeah.
And so in relationships are honestly to people, how we're like made are the most important things to human beings.
Yeah.
Let's destroy relationships. Now what do we have? Oh, now people are in states where they can be easily influenced by hate. And we can drive certain people so far, and we can control people to say, oh, it's done too specifically into, it's planned. It just seems so planned.
Yeah. We can only control what we can control, and there's no use to worry.
The only thing I can do is just make sure me and myself are right, my friends are right, and try to raise a good family.
Exactly.
That's what I can do.
Exactly. What do you feel about depopulation? Because the thought is that the
Yeah.
world is overpopulated, right? But eventually, my opinion, are we at 8 billion yet?
I'm not sure.
We're either at it or we're like very close to it. But my thought is, and this is being seen in Japan, because now like their older population, whichever country, it's either Japan or Germany, but their older population obviously is so big that for whatever reason, declining birth rates, the younger population is just so much smaller. So as a result, there's less jobs that are going to be filled. The economy is going to be shrinking.
We live in a society that like praises sex, but yet less people are having it, and the people that are having it, less people that are having it are having less fulfilled sex as well.
Isn't that crazy? We're having less sex than our parents and our grandparents, and yet hookup culture is so praised. It doesn't really make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense.
It's almost like somebody's lying. But no, hookup culture is definitely very toxic. I wanted to talk about what you wanted to talk about, what you were talking about off air when the mic cut out before we ended it. What was
So I don't believe that Satan's like a real entity that exists, because I've yet to see anything in my life where it's like it's so unexplainable to the point where it just had to have been like an actual like demon or something. But what I think it is, I think Satan is a label for certain behaviors and moods within the human experience, and increasing a side of the human experience, so the negative and positive side, when you increase the negative to a certain extent, your logic kind of goes out the window. When you're in a blind rage, you're not even thinking anymore. You're just acting off of this instinct and feeling, and it's honestly kind of demonic.
Yeah.
You're not in control of yourself anymore.
same thing as when like somebody's horny, for example, and like to just desire sex. Same thing as when you're money crazed, for example. Yeah.
And God wants us to have free will. And what does like you said, like sex, when you're so horny, it's almost to the point where you just lost your free will. You're just controlled by your desire now.
Yeah, especially with people that have porn addictions or sex addictions even. That's a real thing too.
Yep.
It's very unfortunate. I don't necessarily think I agree with you in terms of there not being like a Satan. I think he exists.
As a force. I would say he's more of a force than an actual like entity.
I see what you're saying. Do you believe in like demons?
Actual physical
literal
creatures.
demons that could like take somebody?
I believe you can be possessed by a demon.
That's
but
what I'm saying.
I don't think I would ever like walk on the street in the middle of the night and see a demon. Like that's not
No,
real.
no, it's
but
not that.
like Ted Bundy, he was a demon. Like imagine getting killed by him. Like the face he has is probably so contorted and evil that he just looks like a demon now.
Yeah.
It's still a human being, but he's so controlled by his emotions, and he's just a slave to his own desire.
Yeah.
That you're not even a human being anymore. You've lost the thing that makes us humans is our ability to think rationally. And once we've got so consumed with desire, we're not even using our human gift anymore. We're just being animals.
Yeah, I think also demons manifest themselves in like people that are heavy alcoholics or heavy drug addicts.
Certain cultures believe that alcohol itself is like a spirit.
Yeah, I've heard that too. People, even rappers, talk about that in songs sometimes. It's in pop culture for sure. But I've always thought that people with mental illnesses like schizophrenia, for example, I feel like that's a demon. There's few times that people have come back from that. Obviously, there's Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah, and think about what I said about free will. Alcohol puts you in a state that you have less control over yourself.
Yeah.
And we love alcohol use. We love having less control. And we've been conditioned our entire lives to think alcohol is just a normal social fun occasion thing. Now, I don't believe that alcohol should just be banned outright. Obviously, like if you're responsible to drink and stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm a fan.
Yeah, but like the absolute there's like drinking culture, you know. It's just it's fine, but it just makes you wonder a little bit. Like, why are we praising this thing that's a literal poison?
Yeah, and Like it is a literal poison. Alcohol culture definitely exists for certain holidays, like St. Patrick's Day. I was a victim to that. That was bad.
I want to talk about weed culture for a
Yeah,
second.
go
as
ahead,
well.
go ahead, yeah.
So, weed itself is actually, I would say, it's actually positive. If you do it in a way that's like you're not smoking like all day every day, and maybe like you light up a joint like maybe like once end of a long work week or something like that.
Yeah.
It's actually, I would say, it's actually consciously expanding, and it can make you think about things you haven't thought about before. So it can be used positively. But the problem with it is they want to make it another short-term pleasure thing when if I don't know like how like if you like ever smoked weed or
I've only put a blunt on my mouth like
experience.
twice. I've never technically been high.
It can truly be like a psychedelic eye-opening experience, and that's not even talked about in the songs anymore. Like you hear the rap song, they're just talking about how I'm gonna just roll this blunt,
Being high.
roll the blunt the next day, roll another blunt. Like you're just like numbing yourself at that point.
Yeah, and I feel like alcohol could do that same thing too. But it's like anything that alters your consciousness.
Alcohol, like in its greatest forms, can bridge. It makes bridges between people.
Yeah.
That's the best time I've seen out like alcohol. Like people becoming friends that weren't friends before. All over it. That's good because they lose like some inhibition.
Yeah.
But then again, the like worship of it and the frequency of use is actually what devalues it.
Yeah, I'm just saying in terms of like creativity and mind expansion, I think alcohol can provide that too.
Yeah.
But just like anything, if you abuse, if you abuse it, then
It's just
never
like
gonna be good.
It's just like sex as well. A lot of this like Satan stuff is just taking what God had and just destroying it.
Yeah.
So sex is beautiful. It's sacred energy exchange.
Yeah.
But once we start getting confused of what to do with our desires and how to express them, then it becomes negative. It's originally a very positive thing that God created, but Satan says, "Well, no, I want to make it this way." And making things that God made almost any other way is just makes it Satan. Because what is Satan? Satan tries to think he knows more than God, but he can't by definition. He can't know more than God. So why even we as humans think that we know more than God to do something like that?
Yeah.
I remember I literally posted yesterday about the Garden of Eden. Now, obviously, like, we're not living in the Garden of Eden, right? But why did we think that building ginormous cities and skyscrapers and condos, and then now we have what, like in Japan, like these coffin rooms. Why did we think that was a better environment than, well, obviously we're not living in the forest, but we as humans think we know more about how to improve our lives than just simply just living how we're supposed to live. That's the number one thing. Like if you want to eat healthy, you want to be healthier, eat more natural food. Stop eating fake stuff. Stop consuming things that humans made. Like we can make a fruit smoothie, but we can't make a fruit. You know what I mean? God made the apple. We can't make the apple. We can make the apple pie. That's cool. We can make like apple cider and shit, but we can't make the apple. The tree has to do that. The seed has to do that. We don't make the seed. God made that shit.
Yeah.
And so it goes back to like, how I was saying like sex, drugs and stuff. God made that and we can enjoy it. But once we start thinking that we can just use it and abuse it all the time and it's just some casual thing, that's just one example of like how we make it worse is thinking it's casual as well.
Yeah.
Like, like hookup culture, making sex casual. The two words together don't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's just destroying what God made. Anything we do to try to alter it, that doesn't work. It's like I'm trying to think. Like we can't make human clones, pretty much. Like they come out fucked up.
Not yet.
Like it's fucked. We can't do it. We don't have the gift of giving life. We can receive life and be grateful for it, but we can't make it.
I hope that day never comes, although it doesn't look like that's gonna happen.
Obviously, we can make life through sex, but like
No, but I'm talking about like have you ever heard of CRISPR?
no.
It's like how do I even describe it? Like where you can control like what a child's genes are. It's called something, but CRISPR is it's like the company that's in charge of it. So there's that, and then there's been talk of birthing pods. That one day that sex won't even be necessary.
I hope we never get to that. I actually hope we get with stigma before that happens, because then we just ruin everything.
You know, here's the thing when it comes to that. I feel like when you look at not cultures, societies, empires over time. Ancient Egypt came and went. Nobody knows how the pyramids got there. Modern science and technology cannot explain how that happened. They obviously had a different technology and different science, maybe, but in terms of how they built their society and how they function, it was different. Obviously, ancient Rome came and fell. Ancient Greece came and fell. The democracy that we have is largely based on those two societies as well. But all societies, they rise and they fall. And so I feel like right now, in terms of globalization, we're more connected.
I think we're in the late beginning of the fall, pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't think the West started falling until. I think what really kind of started it was the Industrial Revolution. When we started, that's probably when it really started kicking into high gear. The Industrial Revolution.
Why do you say that?
Well, it makes it around 1984. Just made everything like a bunch of factories.
Yeah.
It's such a bleak sight.
Yeah, that's true.
It's lifeless. It's literally just death incarnate, straight black smoke.
Yeah.
Smog.
A lot of people.
Dirt, homeless people.
A lot of people, like my grandfather, I never met him, but he had lung cancer from working in the mills. I believe he died in his 60s. Might have a little, I think it was in his 60s. But worked at a steel mill his whole life. I mean, it was a good providing job for people that didn't want to go get a college education or didn't need a college education. You would make a really good living. A lot of people were able to do it because the factories were so big. But ultimately, it ended up biting everybody in the back when they moved overseas. So, I don't know. For me personally, in terms of the fall of America, not necessarily the fall of our civilization, because globalization is so big now, and we're all interconnected. So I feel like if we all fall, the only ones that are really going to be there are like the less developed nations, like countries in Africa, for example. Maybe parts of Russia. I'm not too sure. It's
kind of interesting. The people in those like less developed places, like they're actually kind of happy as well.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
It's all good. Like I said, no edits. So
talking about the world gives me some sort of reaction.
Makes you feel a type of way.
Yeah.
But go ahead. What were you gonna say?
That was it.
Well, yeah, I completely agree. You see videos of people interviewing the cultures in South Africa, for example.
Because they're just living how they're supposed to live.
Yeah.
Now, maybe a little technology would help them out.
Yeah.
But like, the fact that the average American lifestyle is wake up, go to work, where you're basically just a cog in a giant machine.
Yeah.
And then come home to a wife and kids that don't respect you a lot of the time, failing marriage, and if you're like a younger kid, all you have is really just either video games, hookup culture, porn. Like, we don't have a lot.
Well, there's also a lot of good, but we're just naming the bad. I'm talking about in terms of the good.
There's not a lot of good that's like being pushed very heavy.
Yeah, okay, I could get behind that. Yeah. You don't really have family being pushed and
like there's no one rapping about family. There's no one rapping about values.
The only thing I could really think of is sports. I feel like sports are still pushed, and I feel like sports are good. I feel like every child should be, not required, but it should be heavily encouraged to participate in sports. You learn about life that way. Your first disagreement, you have a team. That could be anything. It could be a example of like what your family would be like. Co-workers in a future job. Yeah, it's healthy and it teaches you life lessons. I truly believe that. And I feel like that's being pushed. Religion, not so much. Nuclear family, not so much. I feel like the only really good thing that's being pushed for kids right now is sports.
Yeah.
I really can't think of anything else.
But even that's like a slippery slope because not everyone's going to make it as well.
Yeah, that's true. But even then, I feel like that it teaches you how to deal with adversity at a young age. And, I mean, Michael Jordan didn't make the varsity team when he was a sophomore. I think he still played JV, but still, I mean, you don't make the varsity team, it's crushing. So that didn't happen. But I think it teaches you how to deal with adversity for sure. And maybe if we had more examples, I'm not saying if more people played sports, there would be like less acts of violence or whatever. But I feel like if more people were able to deal with adversity early, then you wouldn't see all of these acts of terror. Maybe it's just my hypothetical theory.
The biggest problem then is just that just doesn't seem like a lot of hope. It just seems like the downward trajectory just going to keep going more downward and exponentially go more downward.
Yeah, it's quite bleak. We got to end this episode with the positive thing. Some positive here.
Something positive.
We can't put out like so much negativity into the world. What do you think?
Well,
damn. Okay, how about this? Despite all of the shit that's happening and that's gonna continue to happen, at the end of the day, we still have free will.
At the end of the day, we're still living in good conditions as well.
Yeah, I mean, it could be much worse. Rape used to be common. Killing used to be common. It used to be just a thing that happened.
There's no longer these like super traumatic events that just happen in the day. It's more just like a slow burn. That's why it's a mental health crisis, because it's just like a slow burn of the mind. But yeah, at least we don't have that anymore. At least we don't have people coming to people's houses and stealing your wife and kids anymore.
Not for a while.
Yeah. Not until the end times.
I disagree. I don't even think we're going to end times there. Once the dollar collapses, I think we're all fucked.
Yeah.
But that's for another time. Osa, I appreciate you coming on, bro. And look forward to you coming back.
Look forward to coming back as well.
Awesome. I'll see you, bro. Bye, everybody.